Whether you liked this episode or not, you have to admit, Udon having the ability to summon a massive snot tree from his nose is pretty freaking awesome. As far as I know, they never really got into the signature abilities of Udon, who is of course the teammate of Konohamaru and Mogi, and he takes center stage in this episode along with his squad, which consists of Iwabe, Denki, and Metal Lee. And basically, this is another PSA-styled episode where our young heroes learn a lesson that they can pass on to the viewers. That being said, I probably liked this singular episode more than the entire Byakuya gang arc. I don't know what it is, but watching Iwabe, Denki, and Metal Lee's adventure and growth, for me, almost seems more interesting than watching Boruto's group, because we know inherently, them being the main characters, they're going to propel themselves to the front of the series and end up being the biggest thing that comes from this. But watching these group of, dare I say it, losers actually transcend themselves is a lot of fun, and getting to see more of their signature abilities and working in tandem is something that I never thought that I wanted to see. That and the fact that I just love the overall dynamic of their team and the fact that their leader is Udon, a character who never exactly made a big splash in the Naruto series. He was just always sort of that one weird quiet kid who always had a massive snot bubble coming out of his nose. But we get to learn in this episode that that snot is actually really important to his overall abilities. But what's the story in this week's episode of Boruto? Well, we get to see that Naruto is giving a big announcement on the big screen in the middle of Big Konoha, and he's letting everybody know that the Chunin exams are getting ready to go down, so naturally all of the Genin are super excited. Except for Iwabe. He's disappointed by his past failures, and he sees this as an opportunity to finally reveal why he is the coolest ninja in all of Konoha Village. He wants to be recognized by everyone, and this is sort of like his grand opportunity to make that happen. The problem is, he's afraid of his very own failures. He's afraid that he might fail again and be trapped in the Genin zone forever. Of course, hardcore fans of the Naruto series know that this is basically just a title. Being a Genin doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be a great ninja. Look at Naruto. He was always a Genin, and now he's the friggin' Hokage. They, of course, have to go through a lesson to learn this, and it's all a plan which is concocted by Naruto, because he actually wants to bring this group together and give them a special mission. Not to go hunt for stray cats, or to do some gardening, or just to do some everyday chores. No, he wants them to star in a movie, a promotional movie for Konoha Village, which is going to draw more attention to younger people wanting to become ninja, because apparently attendance at the Ninja Academy is down. So it's up to Iwabe and his team to work with this film group who are going to film them doing all sorts of cool ninja stuff, and it leads to all sorts of shenanigans, like the fact that they end up destroying large chunks of the town with their massive ninja abilities. As cool as they are, this really pisses off their sensei Udon, who decides to school them. And that leads to what is arguably the cornerstone of the entire episode, where Udon lets them know that you can't just rush into these things. You gotta let yourself blossom a little bit, grow a little bit. Udon himself was always seen as sort of like an outsider, a loser. He was seen as dead weight to Konohamaru and Mogi. But look at where he is now. He's basically still the same, aside from the fact that he is considered very cool and confident, and that he can summon giant snot trees from his nose. Seriously, we'll get to that in a second. But this also goes in line with Naruto as well, who tells the team at the very end of the episode that, yeah, even I was considered something of a loser. He failed the exam multiple times and had a lot of really weird big roadblocks in his road to becoming Hokage, so it wasn't exactly smooth sailing for them, and it's a lesson they end up learning the hard way too, especially when they end up working with this film crew, who at first is not too happy about the fact that Udon doesn't want them working with them anymore. But later on in the episode, they go to this building to get some shots, and they end up getting trapped, and it's all about to collapse on them, and that's when Team Iwabe comes in and saves the day, which means we get to see a lot of cool techniques from every single character, and we get to see their unique quirks in action, which is something that I really like. Metal Lee is basically the next generation of Rock Lee. He's just all brawn. He's just got a completely different personality, so there's really nothing that new there. I do think it's really funny that when they walk into this building, Udon tells Denki to analyze the situation. So he just brings out a computer and starts going to work and analyzing everything that's about to happen, when he could easily just sort of look around at all of the destruction. But again, the scene is to let us show us how Denki is actually going to operate in this series. He's going to be sort of like the guy in the chair, so to speak. He's not going to be like a big powerhouse or anything, but he's going to be instrumental when it comes to strategy and safety and going into areas that might seem unsafe. And then there's Iwabe, who still continues to have, I think, one of the coolest gimmicks of the show, having that pole, which he can combine with the Earth-style techniques to create massive hammers. He does a technique in this episode where he does create another rock hammer, but it is so strong that it can knock away a giant freaking crane. This is just a kid who is doing this, by the way, so there's a lot of potential for Iwabe here. They end up saving the film crew. They learn a lesson about not rushing into things and realizing that you don't need to be necessarily super flashy to be an awesome ninja. You don't need to be a braggart, so to speak. They learn it the hard way. And they also learn that Udon is the freaking man, as this entire scene is completely stolen by him. Because even when we see all of these characters doing these cool techniques, it's Udon who actually ends up saving the day with his secret ninja art, the dripping nose. And throughout the entire episode, you get some great hints to this, and I don't know if we've ever seen adult Udon too much in the series before, but the first time you see him talking to Konohamaru and he starts to like sniff just like the old days, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And to see that come to play at the end of the episode, it's almost like they are building up the fact that this guy is just fueled by the power of snot. So the roof is getting ready to collapse on all of them, and that's when he uses the ninja art dripping nose to create a massive tree out of his mucus. And it takes the form of this tree, which has all of these tendrils that come out and they capture things and pierce through all of these objects, and they stop it. And what's really cool is that it is a water-style technique, but it actually manages to hold its shape the entire time and stay tangible. That is freaking awesome, and it takes the form of this glowing tree, which is just glistening in the moonlight, which is really cool looking, but also really freaking gross when you think about it. But for him to be able to do that, that's crazy. He can use water-style techniques with his freaking snot by summoning it from his nose. And I'd like to see more of how he can actually utilize that in a battle as opposed to using it as like a defense or saving people, because don't you want to see that as well? Can he shoot like snot bullets and stuff? Like, how cool would that be? I want to know so much more about Udon. Hell, I want to know more about Mogi and Konohamaru. I want to see more of this, like, team in action. That, like I said, even though this episode was more about the development of Iwabe and his teammates, for me, Udon just stole the entire episode. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto? This was one that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did, but man, I had a lot of fun with this one. I love the fact that they're continuing to build upon the other side characters of the series, especially ones who have very little showcasing in the manga version, and even characters like Denki and Iwabe who don't even really exist in the manga quite yet. We know they're there, we just haven't really seen them in action, and getting to see that these are the teammates of Metal Lee makes it even more impressive to see. And there were a lot of great moments for all of the characters in this episode, but ultimately it came down to Iwabe, who was getting over his fear of rejection and moving forward, and learning that he doesn't necessarily have to rush into things or be seen as like the coolest guy in the village. He has to learn it the hard way, but really that's the best way to do it in the Naruto universe. I especially loved the scene where Naruto was actually talking to them at the very end of the episode, and Iwabe himself was taken aback and started to cry over the fact that Naruto was very proud of what they'd done, not to mention telling them that he himself was kind of a loser himself, being a Genin who became Hokage, much to all of their shock. Really, it was a great journey for these characters, and really I'd like to spend more time with them, as it was a lot of fun watching the dynamic between all of these characters. And like I said, Udon summoning trees from his nose. It's so ridiculous and over the top, it could only work in an anime, and it totally worked in this episode right here. This was a nice, refreshing episode of Boruto, is really what I'm trying to say, despite the fact that it is following a very simple formula. And we're going to get to see probably more of that in the next episode, which I'm very excited for, as we're going to get to see Sumire and Namida and Wasabi in action, and that's another team that I'm very interested in seeing. And this will be like the first episode devoted to them when they are ninja. That's what I loved about this episode right here. That and the fact that they are building up the Chunin exams. They're coming, they're going to be big, and it's arguably going to be the first real big, massive, major arc of the series, which is also going to leave a lot of big things for the future. It's basically going to be, I think, the turning point of this part of the series, and I can't wait to see where it's going to be going ultimately. That being said, this episode right here was a lot of fun. It had pretty good production value. We got to spend time with some really fun characters. There were a lot of great quirky moments, some cool action scenes, and like I said, just Udon snot. It's awesome. To me, this was a 5 out of 5 episode. Most people probably consider it a 4 out of 5, but I got a lot of enjoyment out of this one, and any complaint that I have would be completely superficial on my part. But then again, that's my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys. What did you think about this episode of Boruto? Please tell me all your thoughts in the comment section below and what you hope to see from the future of the series. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay down, baby.